Resource types. Now, before we explore how Microsoft Project actually mechanically uses resource types, it could be quite useful to just look at each resource type in isolation with a slight explanation. So we're going to look at the resource types available to Project 2013. Now, at the moment, we're at a stage where we've created all our project tasks. So we know what needs to be done. What we yet don't know is how much all this is going to cost us. Now, in order to work that out, we have to add some resources into the system, and those resources are broken down to 3 resource types. First type is a material resource type. Now, a material resource type is effectively anything that you can price up per physical unit. Now, that physical unit could be a litre, a gallon, a lump, a block, a pallet, a stone. Any physical unit at all that you can measure effectively will class as a material item. So in our example here, we've got paint, which we could list as tins. Now, in the resource sheet that we add our resources into, a material item has no maximum. The assumption is if you need 1,000 tins of paint, you can actually get 1,000 tins of paint. So no maximum is entered into Microsoft Project. You simply enter in the material item, its physical unit of measurement, and the price per that unit, whatever that unit measurement might be. So that's materials. We also have work resources. Now, work resources are resources that are costed per time unit. So it might be a certain number of dollars per hour, or a certain number of dollars per day, per year, per minute. So it doesn't matter about the time element. What matters is that you can cost it per time element. The other thing with a work resource is that it does have a maximum. So you need to enter a maximum availability. So you may have access to 2 painters, or you may have access to 3 painters, which means that your project can then not use more than 3 painters without it causing an error. Whereas with the material units, we can put down 50 million tins of paint, and Microsoft Project will calculate the cost therein, obviously quite high, but there will be no restriction on putting in those 50 million tins of paint. Whereas with a work resource, we need to say the maximum available. So 2 differences there between the work and the material in that how they are calculated, and in the difference that the material units have no maximum set, but the work resources have to have a maximum value set. The third and final type of resource type is simply called cost, and this is just measured per thing. Now, when you enter a cost resource into the resource sheet, we actually enter no values because the value is entered at the assignment stage. So although we can enter in material units, so number of tins, and the price per tin is $50 per tin, and we can enter in painters, and we have 3 painters available to us, and they earn $30 per hour. We then assign those resources to our tasks. So we say, okay, which of our tasks require paint? And how many tins of paint does each of those tasks require? Which of our tasks require the painter? And how much of the painter? A full painter, 2 painters, 1.5 painters for each task. Now, the cost task type is assigned to tasks, but the value is then attached at that stage. So it's not a calculation based on number of time units required, and it's not a calculation based on number of physical units required. It's just a number, a value that is entered against that particular task, but with the label decided for this particular cost type. So it's quite a flexible type because it doesn't have the drawbacks of being a maximum, and it doesn't have the drawbacks of having to be costed out per time use or per unit use. It's just a cost value that you can then assign any number to any of your tasks. Now, obviously, we're going to see all 3 of these types in action and in more detail, which will help hopefully make what I've just explained much, much clearer.